So now when we are analyzing a complaint, keep in mind that we are looking at this, we're taking all of the facts as they are alleged as if they are true, because that is what a court does when they are analyzing a motion to dismiss. They are looking looking at all of the facts that are alleged, and they're saying, okay, here are all of the boxes that need to be checked for each element of each claim, each cause of action that is alleged here. And are there facts that are alleged that check each box? So, and actually, before I go back to that, we are going to do, whoa, what is going on here? Here we go. I don't know why. Okay. Well, that is supposed to say negligence and wrongful death. I don't know why this is cut off here. That's weird. Anyhow, so for a negligence and wrongful death cause of action, there are 4 elements here. We have, any law school 1L who is going into their 2L year has gone through torts, and they understand torts, the class torts, and they understand any kind of a negligence claim. And when we're talking about wrongful death, we're talking about at least negligence, and that's what they have alleged here, is that at least people have been negligent in this particular case, maybe willful, maybe reckless. So we're just going to look at the lowest that they need to show, which would be negligence, and there are 4 elements here. Number 1, did the defendant have a duty of reasonable care to the plaintiff? In this kind of a case, yes. When we're talking about firearms, yes. Anyone named here is going to have either a duty, like Alec Baldwin, when he was handling the firearm, had a certain duty of reasonable care to handle that in such a way so that it wasn't going to injure someone. As we go into the various producers, the question is going to be, did they have a duty of reasonable care? Now, their responsibilities are going to be probably more on the lines of the budget and the overall schedule of production, and who is being um uh who is kind of ushering the schedule, and who's overseeing that person ushering the schedule. So with each defendant, we are looking for something like that. Number 2, did the defendant breach that duty? So was Alec Baldwin handling the revolver in such a way so that it went off, that it shouldn't have gone off? Did Alec Baldwin not check the chamber to see if it had a live round versus a blank, or maybe nothing, for example? That's another thing. Did Hannah Gutierrez breach her duty of reasonable care by not insisting on being in there and checking it before anybody else handled it? Things of that nature. So we would look at each defendant would be looking at that. So number 3 would be plaintiff was harmed. That's the easiest one, of course. Yeah, that number 1. So we have 3 different plaintiffs. Remember, number 1, Halyna Hutchins. Of course, she died. Number 2, her husband. Was he harmed by the death of his wife? Of course. Number 3, Andros, Halyna's son, was he harmed by the death of his mother? Of course. Element number 3, I don't think anyone will be fighting about at all. Number 4, did defendant's breach cause plaintiff's harm? So this is maybe an area where somebody might try to fight this sort of wrongful death action, but so because what we're talking about here is, okay, so maybe there was a budget issue here, and there's some producer that should have been overlooking, the budget. So was the budget really a cause of this issue, or was it something else? Was the rush of the events on production, on set, was that really responsible for what happened? Was that really the cause? Was it foreseeable? Foreseeability is a big thing that defendant will bring up to say it's not foreseeable that just because we had a low budget that this would happen. But then you go into some of the details and you say, okay, well, we had a low budget. That's one thing. But the way that you allocated that low budget so that there was not enough money for safety of these firearms, you allocated the budget in such a way that you had to hire the armorer so that she was fulfilling multiple roles. That's an issue. Who was responsible for that decision? Things of that kind of nature are going to come up. So that is for the wrongful death elements. And loss of consortium, like I mentioned earlier, loss of consortium is when you have a close familial relationship where you have lost some level of intimacy, some level of support. And in New Mexico, they do allow it for not just the widowed spouse, but also for a minor child. So in this case, both Andros and the husband, they both are able to sue for their own loss of consortium. So you've got the first element is a close familial relationship with the injured at the time of the injury. Number two, was there a tortious injury to that person? Of course, she died. So yes, number two is easy, kind of like element number three in that first one. Element number three for loss of consortium. Loss of consortium suffered by non-injured spouse, child, parent. Now, this is where this kind of gets a little bit awkward sometimes in these kinds of lawsuits, because especially where we're talking about a spouse, you have to go into the details of their intimate relationship. And this is the part of litigation that gets to be very uncomfortable, because just by the nature of the cause of action, you have to go there. And it's very private, and the plaintiff they have to allow for all kinds of probing questions about the relationship. And they have to answer them because they have put them centrally at issue in this kind of a lawsuit. So for the child, I guess not quite as much, but it's much more about like the closeness of their relationship, with his mom, that she used to be the one to pick him up from school every day, and she would help him with his homework. And then on the weekends, she would, invite him into the kitchen to, bake cupcakes or something, like these kinds of things that not only he was enjoying at the time, leading up to her death, but that would have been expected to continue until his adulthood. So those kinds of things are going to come up now. And then number four, was the loss proximately caused by defendant's act? So it's kind of like, each defendant is going to have that same sort of causation situation as with the wrongful death claim itself, the negligence claim.